Imagine a man who could see infinity in a single page, who could lose his sight but gain the power to see entire universes in his mind. A man whose short stories reshaped literature forever, and yet he never wrote a full-length novel. Today, we're diving into the life of Jorge Luis Borges, the blind librarian of Buenos Aires, whose imagination opened doors to worlds no eye had ever seen. This is not just a story. This is an adventure into time, identity, and the very nature of reality itself. And yes, you'll improve your English along the way. Stay with me till the end, where we'll explore 3 key grammar patterns from Borges's quotes to boost your English fluency. Part 1. The Boy Who Read the World. Jorge Luis Borges was born on the 24th of August, 1899, in Buenos Aires, Argentina. His family was well-educated and multilingual. In fact, young Borges could read English before he could read Spanish. His father, Jorge Guillermo Borges, was a literature professor with a personal library of thousands of books, and this library became the boy's playground. As a child, Borges was shy, nearsighted, and deeply introspective. He spent most of his time reading rather than playing outside. While other boys were chasing soccer balls, Borges was chasing the ghosts of Cervantes, Shakespeare, and Poe. By the time he was 9 years old, he translated Oscar Wilde's The Happy Prince into Spanish and had it published in a local newspaper. Most kids barely write essays at 9. Borges was already publishing translations. Part 2. A Young Man in Europe. In 1914, the Borges family moved to Europe to seek medical treatment for his father's eye condition, which would later be inherited by Jorge himself. But their plans were disrupted by World War I, and they settled in Geneva, Switzerland. Borges enrolled in the Collège de Genève, learning French and German in addition to the Spanish and English he already knew. After the war, the Borges family spent several years in Spain, where Borges began engaging with avant-garde literary circles. He wrote poetry in Spanish, but was influenced by European modernist trends. These years shaped his philosophy. Literature didn't need to reflect reality, it could bend it, twist it, and reconstruct it like a labyrinth. In 1921, the Borges family returned to Buenos Aires. The city had changed, and so had he. Part 3. The Rise of a Literary Labyrinth Builder. Back in Argentina, Borges immersed himself in local culture and history. He began publishing poetry and essays that merged Argentine identity with universal philosophical themes. His writing was rich, symbolic, and deeply intellectual. In 1935, he released a small collection of short stories titled A Universal History of Infamy. These weren't traditional tales. They were rewritten legends and historical curiosities, told with irony and brilliance. But it was his later work, Ficciones, 1944, that truly established Borges as a literary giant. In this collection, he didn't just tell stories, he created worlds. One famous story, The Library of Babel, imagines a universe consisting entirely of a massive library, containing every book that could ever be written, including ones full of gibberish and others that hold the truth of existence. Another story, The Garden of Forking Paths, imagines a novel where every possible choice a character could make plays out in parallel timelines. Decades before quantum physics or multiverse theories went mainstream, Borges had already walked those paths. Part 4. The Blindness that Opened His Inner Eyes. In the 1950s, Borges began to lose his sight due to a hereditary condition. By the age of 55, he was almost completely blind. He later said, "I had always imagined paradise as a kind of library." Ironically, just as his physical vision faded, his creative vision intensified. He became director of the National Library of Argentina. He joked bitterly, "I speak of God's splendid irony in granting me 800,000 books and darkness." His blindness forced him to dictate his stories, which he did to his mother and later to secretaries and students. Remarkably, the quality of his work didn't decline. In fact, it grew even deeper. He began writing stories like The Book of Sand, about a book with infinite pages that could never be found twice in the same place. His fascination with infinity, mirrors, time loops, and paradoxes deepened. Borges' stories were brief, but layered with so many meanings that scholars still unpack them today. He claimed he was more proud of the books he had read than the books he had written. Part 5. Legacy Across Worlds. Though Borges never won the Nobel Prize, a fact that surprised and frustrated many, his influence is immense. Writers such as Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Italo Calvino, Salman Rushdie, and even filmmakers like Christopher Nolan have drawn inspiration from him. His impact was not just literary, but philosophical. Borges helped readers realize that a story could be a philosophical argument, a poetic metaphor, and a cosmic joke all at once. He passed away in 1986 in Geneva, the same city where he had studied as a young man, but his labyrinths still echo in every language, every library, and every curious mind. Borges' mindset: reality is fiction. To Borges, literature was a mirror reflecting back on itself. He believed that we write not to describe the world, but to create it. His stories didn't have clear morals or simple plots. They invited the reader to question everything. He once said, "Time is the substance I am made of," and "I do not speak of revenge or forgiveness. Forgetting is the only revenge and the only forgiveness." Borges taught us that fiction isn't a distraction from reality. It's a tool to understand it. English grammar lesson from Borges' storytelling. Let's break down 3 key sentence patterns from Borges' style to help you learn English in context. 1. I had always imagined paradise as a kind of library. Grammar point: past perfect tense plus imagined scenario. Structure: had plus past participle. Usage: talking about something you believed, thought before another past event. Example: I had always thought she lived in Paris before she told me the truth. 2. Time is the substance I am made of. Grammar point: metaphorical sentence with passive construction. Structure: subject plus be plus past participle. Usage: to describe states of being or philosophical ideas in a poetic way. Example: love is the fire I am burned by. 3. Forgetting is the only revenge and the only forgiveness. Grammar point: gerunds as subjects plus parallelism. Structure: verbing used as subject, balanced structure. Usage: use this to sound elegant and logical. Example: learning is the only escape. Teaching is the only power. Final thoughts. Jorge Luis Borges proved that the power of literature doesn't lie in how long a story is, but in how deeply it makes you think. You don't need to travel across the world to explore infinity. You can do it inside your mind, with the right words. If you enjoyed this story and learned something new today about Borges or about English, don't forget to like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more stories that teach and inspire. And as Borges might say, the universe may be infinite, but so is your ability to understand a tone word at a time.